the business can only scale to the size of the human being. Like
Yeah.
Jim Rohn said it best, rarely does a man's income exceed his level of personal development.
Hmm.
So if we can just focus personal development on being a huge part of Joe Homebuyer and why people should join us, it's because we focus, I mean, a lot of energy and effort on their leadership, on them becoming better individuals. And then they simply start attracting the right team players because they're becoming an A leader themselves. They start attracting that income they want because they're now talking more eloquently. They're going on appointments and actually gaining trust of these sellers because they themselves have improved how they speak, how they negotiate, because they're working on themselves. So it's not silver bullets. And so many entrepreneurs are looking for, what's the next marketing thing that'll
Right.
bring in my next 20 leads? And I'm like, I wish it was that simple. It could be the worst marketing strategy, but with a developed individual, they'll still turn that worst marketing into deals.
Hey, welcome back to the Profit First REI podcast. We have Cody Hofhine on today. I'm really excited about this. Cody is someone where every time I see him speak, I want to go out and do something. Because I think you're just so motivational, but just the way your energy is so incredibly high and your outlook on life, your positivity. I've heard your stories several times of where you came from and where you are now. And it's every time it just inspired me to I want to go do something. So Cody, I'm super excited to dive into that and how you're helping people now and your whole journey.
Well, David, it's an honor to be here. We've known each other for a few years now.
Yeah.
So I saw from the beginning journey of you just getting into entrepreneurship and saw you rock it off. And so it's been an honor, and it's an honor to be here. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. And that journey is a journey, isn't it? We've shared in that journey of entrepreneurialism. And I guess I don't know from your story, I've heard your story, but how did you become an entrepreneur? Was it that you saw it from your parents, or was it you stepping out there? Because I know you scraping the pen and going out to the parking lot, not knowing where your next meal's coming from. I know you've got a very in-depth backstory, but I'm wondering, where was the entrepreneur born inside of you?
Yeah, my mom and dad were entrepreneurs in the sense of my mom, stay-at-home mom, but she very much ran the back end of my dad's business. But my dad was a
Okay.
general contractor, so a licensed general contractor. I got to see, again, I don't think I had the lens saying, oh my gosh, my dad has so much freedom. It's tied to him owning his own job. But no, but that's what I got to experience my whole life, was a
Okay.
general contractor that worked hard but played harder. And
Yeah.
it was a great upbringing from that sense. And as you grow up and you're working at Eddie Bauer and working at restaurants, and you're like, this is awful. I don't know if I can be an employee for someone. I love being an employee for my dad, but that's where the entrepreneurial bug came from. My dad was an entrepreneur, had a general construction business.
Okay, let me ask you. You said work hard but play harder. Give an example of how your dad played hard.
Do you know, it's crazy. This will actually make you cringe. So you're the guy in the keep it bucket. My dad's not a keep it bucket. My dad's live at zero, even not even just die at zero. So he's the guy that if you make 250,000, you spend all 250,000. He was one of the guys that he had fun. And do you know what? It's really interesting because he had this abundant mindset that'll always be there. And the funny thing is, David, it was always
Yeah.
there. And so I sit there and I'm a million ways how I could trash his plan, but it's it worked for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
He invested in experiences a ton. And so, but to the craziness, let me tell you example of this. We knew we were going to be going camping coming up in the weekend. So Monday through Thursday, we're going to school. Friday, me and my brother ride our bike to the end of the street because we'd meet my dad at the top of the street and then race him home because we knew oh, camping starts. All of a sudden, this motorhome turns the corner and we're like, oh man, I wonder where dad is. He's in the motorhome. He
Wow.
just went and bought a motorhome and says, hey, we're going camping this weekend. My mom was even like, wait, what? We don't talk about this as a couple? What's going on? That's how the kind of guy he was. He was like, no, we're going to have fun. We're going to go do this, this. And then a year later or 2 years later, he'd sell it and then it'd be the next thing. But that's kind of when I say he worked hard, but he played harder. He had to have his next job or his next construction
Yeah.
job that he lands or something that he's going to build for someone because he just played super hard.
That's awesome.
But it kept
I
him
don't even
young too. That's what's
Right.
crazy. It
Yeah.
kept him young, right?
That's awesome, and I like that. If okay, I won't mind it if he made a 250 and spent 250 and then has a son that turns out like Cody that says, "This was amazing, and I got to see this." Like, I have nothing wrong with that. It's like when what if you would have said, "He did this, but we were always super stressed, and I hated my life, and I wanted nothing to do with entrepreneurialism, and I'm, like, wanting to burn every bridge, and I hated my father," like, all that stuff. It's like, well, then now we have a different story, but
That's
sounds
right.
like he gave a good example of, like, living life to the fullest, and to him, profit first was really about putting those experiences, it sounds like, in front of you, in front of his spouse, in front of, like, the family and the culture that he was defining as well too, which it seems like you got a big portion of that. I'm sure this is rubbed off on you, and because, like, you
Oh,
live
for
larger
sure.
than life, it seems like whenever I see you. And then, okay, I do want to know, how did you get involved? Because everyone that's listening might not know where you came from or the background. Like Wholesaling Inc. That's a really big podcast. That's a really big company, like out there that's helped tons of people. Like, how did you go from, like having that entrepreneur bug to getting into specifically real estate? Was it through the general contracting and what your dad was a part of? And like that was just a natural springboard, or like how did that all play out?
Yeah, such a good question. How it worked out was actually just taking steps and failing miserably, and then the next step led to the next. And
Okay.
I mean, think about your own life. Like, rarely do we figure this out. In fact, if we sit there and just build a perfect plan, then you're going to be the person that 10 years from now you still haven't taken step number one. And so I was just one of those guys that would just fail forward at a fast pace, faster than most. And to my like amazement, even though I was failing, it was putting me a step ahead each and every
Mhm.
time. So I never saw it really as failure. And so I get into insurance. Let me go back a step. I was working for my dad my whole life. And so
Okay.
I did that all the way through '09. And '09 is finally when it hit the recession in Utah. It didn't hit in '08 like everyone else, like all the other surrounding states around us.
Yeah.
'09 it hits though. And my dad and mom, they're like, we're willing to pay you, like jobs will come. They had an abundant mindset. They didn't have a scarcity mindset like, guys, go find jobs until money comes in. No, they're like, we'll keep paying you. Don't worry about it. We have no jobs, but we got to make sure your families live too. And I just like, I couldn't do it. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't take from this bank account when there's no jobs. So I sold vinyl fencing, just got a sales job.
Yeah.
Vinyl fencing led me to meeting Mark Stubler, my business partner. That's where he was working. And so we built a friendship there. Fast forward, I hated selling vinyl fencing. I couldn't get passionate about a product that was supposed to be the best fence, but it wasn't the best fence.
Yeah.
And it was just like any other fence, I guess. But we charged quite a bit more. So it was that, and then not seeing my kids during that year. Like, I would be
Mm.
gone before they were up, and I would be home after they're in bed
Yeah,
for at
that's
least 6 of the months of the year, because it's really like there's a ramp up season where it's
yeah.
like crazy. I didn't like that. It didn't sit well with me. I'm a family man. I mean, even if I'm like starving to get business coming in, there's a limit where I won't, like, there's a line that I think every one of us crosses where it's like, okay, this is like 6 months not seeing my kids except for on Saturday, Sunday. That was my line where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So I get into an insurance because I was selling vinyl fencing, and a lot of insurance agents happen to be my clients that I was selling fence to. They're like, you should sell something that has like some kind of residual effect
Yeah.
going to it. I'm like, that sounds attractive. And so what they didn't tell me is you make BBs the first 5 years. Um, had they told me, I probably wouldn't have got into it. But however, again, God being in the details, it sounded great. So I get into it. I'm working 60-hour weeks, but at least there's a purpose. There's a reason behind it. I own this business. And the first year I make $19,000, period, the end. That's it. And I had wife, 2 kids, and a mortgage payment. The rest was debt free. I didn't have any car debt or anything like that. But 19,000 doesn't work,
Yeah.
period, the end, no
No.
matter how many times you put it
Yeah.
down. So fast forward 15 is when, and maybe you've heard this story. That's when my wife was crying at home. I came home early from work and she's crying at the table, and she's wondering whether to put food on the table or pay the mortgage that month.
Yeah.
Well, I'd already been insuring the investors, like in my whole entire state. I was probably the largest insurance agent for investors, but it was crap policies. They'd fix and flip. So the policy would get on and then fall off the books, get
Mhm.
on, fall off the books. So there was
Yeah.
no residual with that. It's kind of just crap policies. So anyways, I was going to the real estate investor associations to get business, is how I really even got in tune with real estate. But for 5 years I was going to this, and I never once like was interested in what they were doing. I would just hear someone say, "Hey, I've got 5 rentals." I'm like, that's 5 policies. I got to go meet that guy.
Nice.
And that's how it really started off. So when I saw my wife crying, 3 days later, within about 2 or 3 days, was the next Real Estate Investor Association. And I just couldn't get it off my heart that, man, my wife, I caught her crying, and this is me. I need to provide for the family. A guy stands up and he shares how he just found a deal, wholesaled it, and made like $29,000, and he did it in 4 days. And I'm like, that would change things. That would pay for food and a mortgage. That would be amazing.
Right.
So I went up to him. I insured all this stuff, so I trust him. I said, hey, would you teach me? He says, Cody, you're driven. When you have the blueprint, you would scare the crap out of me. You'd be my biggest competitor. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a compliment or if I'm like, come on, look past it. Like, I want to learn. I need to help my
Right.
wife. And so that's when I called and reached out to Tom. Wholesaling Inc. was at like a very beginning stages, just had a
Oh,
handful
yeah.
of students.
Yeah.
I was one of the first students, me and a guy by the name of Theo Davis. So we're in there. Fast forward a year, me and Tom partner. I buy half the company, and then we really, like, from there just blew up Wholesaling Inc. to what it was until we sold it in 2020.
Wow, that's so cool. That is so cool. I like that journey. And it seems like that helped you from multiple angles. Like you've got your obviously your own entrepreneurial journey. I did think there was one thing you said in there, but kind of glanced over it at the beginning where you're like, I can't take the money. I can't take the money, like from that bank account, to do. And then that kind of put you on a trajectory. But then it ended up to where, like you said, God is in the details where it's like, where in the world I would have never started this if I would have just started taking that money, and you would have been comfy probably for maybe that year, maybe seen some strain there. And, eventually they come out of it and you're still working there, but then you don't have all these experiences and literally have changed thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of people's lives through Wholesaling Inc. and like everything you've done on that side. But then you went from there, and then what now? Like from 2020, what did you do past Wholesaling Inc?
Do you know what's interesting? I went through like I think I understand a little bit better now when, like, you hear the stat of 2009 Sports Illustrated, where it's the football players, I think the average time was like 2.9 years in the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
and they would make great money, like phenomenal money. And within like 2 or 3 years of them retiring, they'd be completely broke. Like
Yep.
70% of them were like bankrupt or something. I mean, it's just a astronomical number that would be bankrupt within 2 or 3 years after retiring. It wasn't a lack of money. They were making great money. They didn't have financial literacy, part of it, but they actually said the biggest reason why is because they were attached to an identity that had ended. So they had said to
Mm,
themselves, I'm a football player. And when football
yeah.
ended, all of a sudden they're like, I'm a nobody. I was a football player my whole life. Instead of saying I'm someone that's competitive, where that can now go and grow. Even when football ends, it's like, I'm still that person that's competitive. Whatever I get into, I'm going to win. Kobe Bryant was a perfect example. He
Right.
gets out of the NBA and he starts this like media company, wins a Grammy his first year, like all this stuff, because he's a
Yeah.
competitor. He's not just a basketball player. He's a competitor. So when he left basketball, his identity didn't leave. His identity was still intact because he's a competitor at whatever he does in life. And when we sold Wholesaling Inc., I lost my identity. I
Mm,
found out quick how much I was attached to that identity of being the person that could be on a podcast, the person that could go speak on stage. And it perfectly happened for me. It was a great time. I wouldn't say I was out there just being crazy or being dumb. I've never been that person, but yes, even I had to go through, like, eat some humble pie and be like, yeah, you're starting over again. Like, yeah, you're not the man anymore. And
mm,
that was hard. For 2 years I poured my life and soul into those students, and when that was no longer there, man, it was 2 years going on walks, many walks with my wife, many walks by myself, and just tears, just wondering what's next, because I had just I couldn't even fathom another world, because it was almost like I just lost my identity. And so I had to do this whole identity build out and find out who Cody is. And again, God's in the details. I needed to go through it. Life didn't happen to me. It happened for me. And it was a beautiful experience. And on the other side was this better, stronger, Cody that's able to go and have a bigger impact on people's lives.
All right, I have to pause the episode real quick. If you're a real estate investor who's tired of wondering where your money is going or why you're closing deals but still feeling broke, you need to talk to Simple CFO. Simple CFO is Profit First certified and fully endorsed by Mike Mikhalowicz, the creator of Profit First himself. Our team specializes in helping real estate investors finally get control of their cash flow so you keep more money, You pay yourself consistently and build a business that doesn't run on chaos. We'll help you implement the Profit First system the right way, set up the financial processes you've been missing, and give you a dedicated fractional CFO who actually understands investing and keeping track of your numbers on flips, wholesales, rentals, private lending, all of it. So if you want predictable profit instead of living deal to deal, head over to simplecfo.com and book your financial clarity call today. That's simplecfo.com. Stop living in confusion and start keeping the money you work so hard to earn. Now, back to the episode. So then you go through that experience and your identity and rebuilding, which that resonates so much because I'm sure that if you're listening to this podcast and you're wanting to keep more of your money, that money might be holding on to your identity in some way, shape, or form, especially if you're a business owner. I'm sure you've seen that, Cody. Like, it sounds like you've not just seen it, but you've experienced that where your identity is tied up in your business or in the bank account or in how much zeros you have in there or the lack thereof. And then you feel crappy if you don't have it. So it's like, sounds like you really went through that journey, but came out on the other side. It sounds like, did you find yourself to be that competitor, kind of like Kobe Bryant? Like, how did that come out from that identity? Like, what, I just want to ask you, how do you identify right now? Like, what is that identity that is Cody Hofhine?
Yeah, that identity is first and foremost that I love deeply God. Second is that I have an incredible wife that is my best friend, my one and only, right? Third place comes my kids. Like, my wife was first, and that's how it'll always be. My kids still will be very much big part of my life. I don't want to downplay that. They're a huge part of my life. And then from there, it goes into work from there. At the crux of everything, what I found out is, no, it has nothing to do with the title Wholesaling Inc. Has nothing to do with the title of owner, entrepreneur. More than anything, I just really had to look at it as, I'm someone that can have a massive impact for good in someone's life. Someone could become better. And from a philosophical view, that someone could become more like God because they met me today. And that's what I strive to do. Not to say I'm perfect at it. I'm not. But with that lens, it was so much easier to just wake up and go to work, because it was a higher purpose than myself. I think at that point, it was also quit thinking about myself and think about others. Me and my wife, some of the things we do is we tie not money just to bless our lives. Yes, we do that. But how do we go out there and have such an impact that we can use money to bless other people's lives? And that's been probably the best thing about it, is being completely debt free first and foremost, so that we're not focusing on ourselves. We can focus outside of us versus us. And I think debt free, it's not about saving the 3% interest that everyone locked in 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. It's not anything to do with that. It's all to do with, when you're debt free, you quit focusing on yourself and you start focusing outward. And we then took that money that was going towards mortgage payments and we said, hey, what if we invested it into things that changed our lives, and we use that to change other people's lives? So one of the things, I served a 2-year mission for our church, and it made me who I was. It made me significantly better than I think I ever could have been had I not gone on that mission. And they're not cheap, and the church doesn't pay for them. And so me and Wendy will use our funds, our money, to put these young 19-year-olds on missions, and we'll cover the cost. We'll pay for it. And so now it's just purpose driven. So instead of ego driven or accomplishment driven or the goalpost, and then the goalpost never stops moving, it keeps changing. This is now just purpose driven. Yeah. It has to hit our lifestyle where we can only say yes to the best stuff. And if we do that, and then we maintain making sure that we are not just focused on ourselves, that we are using it to bless other people. And that has been our identity shift together, me and my wife.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. It's like the purpose-driven life. It's almost like there's a whole book there. Like, if someone needs to go out there, that's a good resource to getting on there and getting back on that train if you're listening to this right now. Well, Cody, that was awesome. And I love what you said there, that it's purpose-driven, and it's more about your identity is the massive impact you can have on someone, whether that's getting them closer to God and more like God, or if that's actually showing them that way and being able to just change their life. So I did want to ask, let's exclude those top 3 things, the family and everything, because that's on the family and the personal side. In business, what are you most excited and passionate about right now?
Oh, I love seeing people win at the high level. In fact, if that was everyone's focus, you would see you would never worry about money the rest of your life.
Yeah.
If you can just see people win and you are the reason that helps people win at a high level, don't even focus on money. Focus on others and focus on their winning. And you, my friend, will be secure in all the financials that you want. So for me, the biggest thing I'm excited about, for example, Joe Homebuyer is one of the brands I own. And we have now 65 active franchisees. Our focus and goal by the end of 2028 is to have 100 $1 million territories throughout
Oh,
the
cool.
nation.
Yeah.
And right now, we're far from it. Like, I love being just candid and honest, even on
Yeah.
podcasts. Right now, we'll end the year with about 16. And by the end of 28, we want to be at 100. Well, what that does is it recalibrates and it shifts our focus. Okay, well, what is our activities doing? Are they in alignment with this massive goal? Some dear friends of ours, Benjamin Hardy and Blake Erickson, they are the founders of the scaling.com, and they run people through this like 10x experience, how to 10x your business in the next 3 years. uh, Most individuals, they think linear. They think, oh, 1 million this year, let's do 2 million next year, and they
Right.
they just go linear thinking. And all you got to do really is turn up marketing. You could probably do that. But what is that 10x thinking, that impossible thinking, where you're like, okay, let's go from 1 million to 20 million? Well, that's different, because what that's going to do is require you to have to think differently, get creative, have probably a whole new blueprint than what you're currently living right now. And so we think bigger now. And yes, not only is it our goal, but we're aligning now our relationships, our partnerships, we're aligning our activities, actions, our thinking. All of that is now in alignment with, so that we can accomplish having 100 $1 million territories throughout the nation by the end of 2028. And I absolutely believe we'll get there, because it's real. Business is not luck. It's not anything more than having a clear path of where you want to accomplish what you want to achieve, and then just aligning your activities that you should be doing each and every day in alignment with that future self or that future business that you want.
That's a really cool goal. Like for a franchise, especially to have 100 $1 million territories. So that way you're not just giving them the tools and you're saying, good luck. Like, I've given you everything. What's your problem? It's like now you're focused on, are you successful? It sounds like you're really invested in their success, not just in the here, let me give you all the tools and then I'm just going to ride off into the sunset type thing.
So true. And that's what I love about the franchise model, is we don't win unless they win. I
Mm,
mean, I don't love the word royalty, because it sounds like it's a fee, but how our partners look at it as a partnership. They don't look at it as a
yeah.
royalty. They don't look at it as a fee. They're looking at it as, oh my gosh, I have the help to scale, grow my business to, like, I can't even say money claims, but scale and grow their business. FDD holds us back on what we can say and what we can't say. But when our individuals, our franchise owners join, they're not looking at it as a fee. They really just look at it as, oh my gosh, I get to partner with, and again, I say this humbly, I don't mean this in a braggadocious way, but I get to partner with the best, and have the best, and only for a 6%, let's say, of my business. Okay, some people partner 50-50 with people. And so they see the big picture and they see how we can help them get to the next level, I guess is the best
Yeah.
way I can say it.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. It's like all the things you can and can't say. It's
Oh,
like, yes, this
so
will be
crazy.
public. So
The
I
franchise world is like,
yeah.
it's like you can't say anything. It's
Take
not
over,
even fun. Our
man.
marketing sucks.
Yeah. I'm sure you see things go out and you're like, "Oh my god, I can make that 10 times better." Like, what is going on here? Oh,
Painful,
man. I
painful.
bet
They're
it
like, you
is.
can't say that. And we're like, what about this? Like, you can't say that. And I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, Cody, you can't say that. I'm like, what can I say?
Yeah.
No, we want to help you grow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we wanna help you grow then. Which okay, then I can ask you any question I want to on this side because I don't have any stipulations. But on this framework of make, spend, keep, like, I wanna make sure that, Simple CFO, we help keep it sounds like you really help people get up and running to make the money that they want to make, and it seems like, especially for this one, Joe Homebuyer, you're focused on getting them to 1,000,000 as quickly as possible. Is that true? Because it's like you're trying to scale there in just a couple years with franchises getting up to like 100 that are in the $1 million. Like that's usually a big first goal for a lot of businesses, right? Is that seven
Yeah.
figures that they want to get to. So is that like one of the big focuses too, is like get them in, get them as successful as possible, and then try and get them to the 7-figure mark as quickly as possible?
Yeah, that was the one of the shifts, right? Like we have now quite a few of our franchise owners that are coming to us that are already doing a million or
Okay.
above. So
Nice.
that's a beautiful thing is our
Yeah.
focus shifted. We're like, okay, how do we get there and how do we obtain this goal? And the goal isn't for the sake of because we're just cool when we have 100. It just means that's how many people we're able to help and facilitate future growth with. But one of those strategies is um, refocusing our efforts on who we're letting to come in to be part of Joe Homebuyer in the first place. So it used to be at the very beginning, we had people that hadn't even done a business, but they had like $300,000-$400,000 because you need some ramp and runway to get going, and you need to be instantly spending minimum probably $15,000 a month in marketing to even make a presence, make a dent in the wholesaling space. And so we originally had beginners as part of our model. And then we learned that yes, some small fraction turn into something that they're like, I love this, and they get going. And then there's people that have the same blueprint and they're like, maybe it could be mindset. It could be a limiting mindset. It could be just they find out they don't love real estate,
Yeah.
and money in our blueprint didn't change that. And so we had to just refocus who our avatar was, and we had to drop the beginner. We no longer
Yeah.
allow someone that's never done a deal to do it. Now they've got to be a thriving business, which means if they're probably not spending $15,000 a month in marketing, they're probably not a good fit for us.
Okay.
They're probably too soon. And so we do have some ways, there's some masterminds and things that they can go to that allow them to get to that healthy stage where they can get to us, where then they're ready for us, that we can really help them ramp.
Awesome. So you're looking for someone who has an established business and you can take them really to that next level then. That's really yours. Is like scaling, but scaling in a professional and like responsible way.
That's correct. That's correct. And it's not for everyone. And you probably see this in the business as you get to see being the CFO for many of these companies.
Yep.
You're like, holy smokes, or how many more years are you going to run like this?
Right.
You probably see the solopreneur to the people that are banging their head against the wall. And you're like, yeah, I can tell you why. Like you're doing it all by yourself. And so it's not for everyone, but those rare occasions where people are like, I really want this to be a business. A business is not solopreneurship. That is self-employed. That's why they call it that, because you're still employed. It's just you're employed by yourself, but you're wearing all the hats. It's going to burn candles at every end of the candle, and you're going to probably fizzle out before it even turns into a business. But if they had the right blueprint and the right coaching, the right mentorship, the right systems, the right process in place, could that turn into something? For some, yes. For others, no. And it's almost like Jim Rohn. Why? It's the
Yeah.
same blueprint. He calls it the mysteries of the mind.
Nice.
So I don't know why some take it and just run and others don't. So there really is a criteria we're looking for and
Yeah.
that we go through our interview process. But when we find that individual, it just ends up being a fantastic like marriage,
Yeah.
because they're also looking to have a community. They're looking for that mentorship. They're looking for that partnership. They don't look at it as a fee. They look at it as, no, this is like exactly where I want to be.
Awesome. And okay, I will ask you this and you can answer or not answer if you don't want to. Do they get access to you? Like, are you running some of these calls and like talking with the franchisees and like that type of stuff as well?
Yeah. Yeah. So, for example, every Thursday I'm with every one of our franchisees. So it's a group
Okay, cool.
call and it's just mindset mastery. It's overall the mindset leadership.
Yeah.
We just had that today, this call,
Cool.
and it's one of my favorite calls. It really is, because it's really working on the individual versus working on the business. The business can only scale to the size of the human being. Like
Yeah.
Jim Rohn said it best, rarely does a man's income exceed his level of personal development.
Hmm.
So if we can just focus personal development on being a huge part of Joe Homebuyer and why people should join us, it's because we focus, I mean, a lot of energy and effort on their leadership, on them becoming better individuals. And then they simply start attracting the right team players because they're becoming an A leader themselves. They start attracting that income they want because they're now talking more eloquently. They're going on appointments and actually gaining trust of these sellers because they themselves have improved how they speak, how they negotiate, because they're working on themselves. So it's not silver bullets. And so many entrepreneurs are looking for, what's the next marketing thing that'll
Right.
bring in my next 20 leads? And I'm like, I wish it was that simple. It could be the worst marketing strategy, but with a developed individual, they'll still turn that worst marketing into deals, where you can have the best marketing strategy, but if you're a D quality individual, you're probably not going to get deals because people won't trust you. And then they won't trust you, they're not going to sign a contract.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so true. And I love that you don't just focus on their business, which you do, but then you also focus on them as a leader. Cause like you just said, and Jim Rohn, and all the people that have told, like you're what? It's John Maxwell, right? It's like
Yeah,
the
I
leadership.
love John Maxwell. He's
John
one of my
Maxwell's got
favorites.
that, the law of the lid, like you can't go
Yes.
past that. So it's like that's where seems like you're helping them lift that ceiling and helping them to be able to start attracting the right people, which is great. I love that focus and that focus on what you're doing with the franchisees. I did want to also ask, like in this whole system and with what you've got going on, seems like you're having some great success with people, but it's because you're really finding the right people and the right partnerships. So there's lots of other there's lots of things that people could go and do instead. What makes it unique? Is it that you have the franchise where you're building the business and the leadership, and because you're focused on these specific individuals and you can really take them to that next level? Because that's what I'm picking up on, but I want to make sure if I've missed anything where you're like, no, this is another thing that we have. I didn't even get to talk about this yet.
I mean, what's interesting, yes to everything that you just said. Amen to what you just said. And is there things, each one has like their unique thing. If you talk to them, not one of them would probably say the same thing. You're like, why did
Right.
you join Joe? One of them will say community, because
Mm.
maybe you felt it just like I felt it. Entrepreneurship's lonely.
Yep.
Like, it's a lonely circle unless you join a mastermind or something. It's a lonely journey. And especially with, if your friends are entrepreneurs or your family are entrepreneurs, now it gets really lonely because you can't even share your success with anyone, because they're probably going to be a blue crab and kind of pull you back down and pull you back into their bucket, saying, oh, just don't work so hard, don't do that, and don't do
Right.
this and don't do that. And so it gets lonely. So you talk to some Joes, they'd say, no, I'm here for the community. And we have, I think, the world class. I think it's the best of the best because it's a bunch of go-givers. I would say vast majority are like Christian mindset. They have a belief in a higher power, so that it's not just them. They're willing to show faith when they don't have the right answer, but still move forward when they don't have the right answer.
Mm.
It It could be they're like, you know what? I have no idea how to run this tech stack. I have no idea how to do this AI. I have no idea how to have a great CRM. And so they join because they say, you know what? I'm able to leverage you guys. So when my team needs help, they can call you and say, hey, how do I figure this out?
Mm.
Because I'm
Very
a maverick. Mavericks are not tech people. Like, I don't even know my login to the CRM.
nice.
And so it's like, how do they get everything? And everyone brings something different why they joined. The other one, it could be because it is the connection with our marketing partners, our vendors, everything
Yeah.
that we have that allows them to get at our pricing. I think one of the other unique strategies is how much money we're able to put back into the game because we have a national presence. We're able to see real time what's happening in the nation, because when it was just us, we only saw what Utah was doing.
Right.
But once we've expanded it to the nation, it's like we're seeing real time what's happening, and we're able to make pivots based off of that. One of the things John Maxwell says, he talks about how a true leader is able to see around corners. And with partnerships now in many states, I mean, 65 franchisees that are out there, we're able to see around the corners quicker than other entrepreneurs, other companies, because we have eyes on many different ways. And we're saying things that now AI can analyze and say, hey, here's a blind spot for you guys. And I don't even know if many solopreneurs even invest in AI right now, because it's such a changing game. But
Right.
when you have this whole entire pool, now it's like Kobe Bryant waking up at 4 a.m. After he does that for 3 years, no one can catch up to him because he's already been doing it for 3 years. He's going to be so much further ahead of you, and
Right.
the gap just gets further. I believe because we have so much franchisees and so much buying power, we're able to invest in some of these tech things that no one else on a solopreneur level can invest in. And it's just widening the gap to where it's just getting better and better each and every year.
Awesome. No, I love that. Very cool. This sounds like a very specific for someone who's in the game that wants to take it from where they are
You
and
can
they're
say
already
whatever you
doing
want.
deals. All right. So, right. They're doing the deals, and then they want to take it to that next level, and they're able to really get like you said, the best of the best there that have been there, done that, have scaled multiple businesses, sold a business, then also been in real estate, also has the boots on the ground and the experience and the leadership, and really understanding that it is about that personal development. So I think there's lots of things going for it. So
Brent Daniels loves us because he doesn't have to train his acquisitions. He flies them out to Salt Lake and we
that's
train them,
great.
and then they
That's
jump off the
awesome.
plane. They're going. Same with
Yeah,
Jerry Norton.
that's
Jerry Norton's
awesome.
like, I don't have time to run. He bought 10 of our franchises.
Yeah.
And Jerry Norton's like, I don't have time to run the 10. So he leverages us.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you're out there and you're doing the deals, this is something to look into. So how would they get a hold of you if they want to look into that or just everything that you have going on, Cody?
Yeah, just in general, reach out to CodyHofhine.com. That's online, right? You can go to CodyHofhine.com. That's my website. Reach out to me there. Obviously, the other one I want to give you is go to Cody Hofhine on Instagram. That is an easy one. Look for the blue check mark. I don't know why anyone wants to be me, but there's about 10 fakes out there that are not me. Yeah, look for the blue check mark, Cody Hofhine. When you DM me, it is me. I don't pay someone to manage that. That is me. I love having conversations. Please reach out. I'd be glad to lead and guide you and help you any way I can.
Cool. So there you have it. That's where you can find everything Cody Hofhine. If you're interested in Joe Homebuyer, then you can do some other things as well too. Don't you do some coaching yourself
Yeah,
personally and some of that as well? So
yeah.
if you get the same energy that I get from Cody from stage from this podcast, and you're like, I want more of Cody in my life, just go to CodyHofhine.com, and that's where you can find everything there. And he'll help you make more. We're all about helping you make, spend, and keep the right amounts. And it's like this is how you can really ramp it up, especially if you're out there and you're wanting to go to that next level. And that's where you can find it, CodyHofhine.com. If you want to keep more, that's where you can go to simplecfo.com. You can have a conversation with our team and making sure you're keeping what you're making sure that there's profit at the end of the day. If you're $1 million franchise, I want to make sure that you have a good, healthy margin and you're not spending 1.1 to get to $1 million. So that's where we help you on the back end. Make sure you have a profitable business. So go to simplecfo.com if you're interested in that. Cody, thank you again. Do you have any parting words here that you like to say?
Don't go out and buy motorhomes, guys. It's a depreciating, not even an asset. It's a liability.
Unless you're Cody's dad and you don't ask anyone in your family and you just show up and you say you have the time of your life and then you have a great experience with it. That's the only time that it's okay. So now this is good stuff, Cody. Thanks for being on and sharing all your wisdom today.
Appreciate it.
That's it for today's show. Be sure to subscribe, review, and share this episode. If you're serious about financial systems and keeping more of your profit, visit simplecfo.com to take your free discovery call today.